Hi, I'm Tracey Fisher. This is Community Talk, and I'm here with Will Mecca. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing well. So you're running for city commissioner, correct?
Yes, sir. City Commissioner for City of Philadelphia. Elections May 19th, Malcolm X's birthday, 2015.
How's that going?
So far, so good. We're on the campaign trail, moving about throughout the city of Philadelphia, alerting people that not only am I asking them to vote for me, but more importantly, to get registered and to vote. And that's more important to me than them even voting for me, because that's the primary reason that I'm running. I want to see 100% voter participation in the city of Philadelphia.
Wow. Now, you mentioned Malcolm X's birthday.
Yes.
Is you a fan of Malcolm X?
Yes, yes. I mean, who can be a fan of Malcolm X?
Oh, that's my man.
Yeah, he's one of the few black men who have a stand. But considering re-entry, Malcolm X said that prison is the second best place that a black man can go to get his mind together. And I'm not suggesting that you go to prison to get your mind together, but what he's saying out of that statement is when you're in prison, you have an opportunity to reflect on things and come up with a plan so when you re-enter into society, you can get back on track and do what you need to do. Because so many people are lost. And so when they don't take the time out to get back on track and get their mind straight, then they stay lost. They'll still be in a prison, whether they're behind bars or not.
Right, they'd be on pause. Exactly what they'll be on. And one of Malcolm X's famous speech in 1964 is the ballot or the bullet. Now, he's talking in 1964 about 2015. About 2015, about myself, you, and other individuals that's about the community and about the structure. What are your thoughts on that?
When I think about the ballot or the bullet, at that time, those words were being used as to whether or not in 65, right, when the Voter Rights Act was being signed, right, whether or not voting would be a revolutionary tool for African Americans or revolution picking up guns through armed struggle. The irony of that today, when we have so few black people participating in the electoral process, but the number one issue facing black males right now nationally is that they're being gunned down by police officers, yet they're not participating in the electoral process. I'm suggesting they can continue to receive these bullets, or they can go to the ballot office to change who the legislators are, because our legislators determine who the police commissioners are. Our legislators will determine who the judges are. Our legislators are going to be the DA, the people who would pick folks to be on juries. So if you want to change the dynamics of how we're being treated when it comes to the criminal justice system, when it comes to our judicial system, you have to go to the ballot box. The black man, more than anyone else in this country, so disproportionately behind bars than anyone else, should be the first person to get registered to vote and go to the ballot box. And that's why I'm recommending to you with your 10 steps of re-entry. 1A needs to be get registered to vote. Why? Because they need to recognize that people coming out of prison, especially those who've had felonies, who can't vote while they're behind bars, because many folks don't know you can still vote behind bars if you don't have a felony. And those who are behind bars with misdemeanors need to go on record and let the establishment know that us 33,000 formerly incarcerated people are aware of our rights and are willing to pull the trigger when it comes to establishing and supporting elected officials who are going to change laws that will impact people and the quality of life for all folks.
Now, most elected officials will speak about how the Trayvon Martin, Mike Brown incident, which is tragic, don't condone none of that.
Right.
But we don't hear much about the black on black crime from them, because I don't care who pulling the trigger, a bullet hurts, be it a white man or be it a black guy, a black man. So we have to take that same passion that we have against a white cop killing a black unarmed man, and the same black male killing me.
But here's the difference, and this is the major difference. You don't find black people in the black community saying, oh no, we don't want the person who robbed and shot someone on the corner of my block not to be arrested, not to be prosecuted. We go to the court case. Our family comes in droves. We want them to be arrested. We want them to serve time. We're not against the system working the right way. So it's not that we need masses in the streets when there's black on black crime. When John Doe shoots Jim Doe and John Doe gets caught and gets convicted and goes to prison, we're like, that's what we needed when the system is working right. So, because we don't have a problem with black men being arrested and going to prison because we're there disproportionately. So we're clear on when we've done wrong, there should be punishment for your evil. However, the problem with this is that when white cops or officers shoot down black men in cold blood, the system is not bringing about justice. So those are two different dynamics. One is about, here's injustice. And folks will say, oh, look at this outcry. Why are you making such a big outcry about this injustice? No, we're not going for that. Because we're okay with there being justice done. Look at how many of us are in prison. So when the system works properly, we're okay with that. But when it's working improperly, we have a problem with it.
Correct. And the audience would like to know what makes you qualified to be the commissioner.
Well, I think I'm more uniquely qualified than any other person in this race. And I'm not just saying that to hype myself up. I'm going to give you the facts. Ironically, my grandfather actually, he started out in the commissioner's office working as a mechanic on machines years ago, all right? Like he was doing this, he had retired by the time I was born. So there's some lineage there in this office for me, right? I grew up across the street from Councilman Curtis Jones Jr. as a kid. I got involved in electoral politics at the age of 9. I worked on the campaigns of now State Representative Senator Hughes when he was running originally, Senator Hughes when he was running originally against James Barber for state rep. We lost the first time, ran again, won the next time. Worked on Congressman Fattah's campaign when he was running for state rep. We had a tiny little office across the street from Overbrook High School and couldn't afford to pay campaign workers, so we got a bunch of volunteers from Overbrook High School to help run that campaign. Moving forward, I've been uniquely involved in winning campaigns. I know how to move people to get to the polls. I was State Representative Kenyatta Johnson's both campaign manager when he ran for state rep, and we won by a huge margin against a 24-year incumbent. I was his chief of staff. I was Councilman Jones's field director when he ran against an incumbent, and we won. This office is primarily focused on free and fair elections and making sure that people get registered to vote and that they come out to vote. No other candidate has registered more people in one day than I have. I've been blessed to be a part of the entertainment industry. And back prior to Obama running, P. Diddy hit me up. So, Lil Mega, we need to do some voter registration in Pennsylvania, right? In one day, we registered 20,000 people, 10,000 students from Temple University, then flew out to Pittsburgh and registered 10,000 more out in Pittsburgh. I have relationships, I know how to communicate with people to make young people in particular, the 18 to 35 demographic, who's least likely to go out to vote because of multiple barriers. I know how to uniquely communicate with them. Oh, well, you're just saying that. No, I'm the only person who has a master's thesis whose thesis topic is voter registration and participation amongst Philadelphians 18 to 35. In academia, I'm considered the expert, hands down. But I'm not just from a philosophical or academia perspective. I have a proven record of being able to do it. So hand for hand, title for title, tittle for tittle, I'll put me up against anyone when it comes to getting people registered to vote and getting out to vote, especially having the resources of the office. These things I'm talking about just about relationships, strategy, community contacts, but having the resources of that office and having that being my day-to-day job, those things I'm talking about was along with still having a 9 to 5, right? So given that opportunity, I think I can uniquely take the office into a direction to use the modern day resources and technology to give it its best opportunities.
And dealing with the community, as you know, we can have all the titles in the world, all the education in the world, and it's not important until the community say it is.
Right.
It's not important. I learned that the hard way.
Okay.
But I learned it. And the community right now, they love what I'm doing with reentry.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
They saying I'm the face of reentry because every time they talk about it, that's what they say, because I'm doing it without funding from anyone.
Okay.
So someone is receiving $100,000 a year to do what I'm doing for free.
Right.
Right. And the community is the ones that's behind me and supporting me. Now, you did a lot of registration and so forth, especially on college campus and stuff.
Right.
Where's your connections at with the guys that's carrying guns, that's doing the shootings, the rapings, the murders, and selling drugs? Where are you at with them?
Well, again, my history speaks for itself. You can pick up a cell phone and call Support Muhammad and say, hey, has Will Mega been working with Southwest District Service over the year? You can call Mark Correll and say, hey, Will Mega, a member of Men United for Better Philadelphia? Yes, I've worked in some of our more violent schools at Martin Luther King Jr. I was working for Men United day to day, working with war ganging, different communities who were coming against one another, fighting against one another, primarily gun violence and just violence in general. On those street corners, you can say my ask Jay Brady. You can go to Winfield, where I'm from. After Men United, I said, you know what? I think the springboard for Men United is for all of us who got this training at Men United to go back into our own communities and duplicate the same piece there. So I started Men of Winfield, right? Shortly after Southwest District Service got started. Next, the community next to mine, Men of Tustin got started. So those are some of the things that I have done. At Men of Winfield, we use sports as a model to grab the young boys' attention. They think, oh man, we have summer basketball league, yeah. But what they didn't realize, we were developing relationships with them on a first-name basis that they could see that we're people like them. So when we see it acting up, I just grab, yo, what we doing? And you're not jumping back, who you old head? So that's how I've been able to connect from a grassroots level with people in my community.
All right, let's go forward, because I'm a visionary.
Okay.
It's over with. Voting and everything is over with, and they announce you as the winner.
Mm.
You're in office now. After you get situated and everything, how do you see you, the commissioner, Will Mega, working with Gateway to Reentry?
Well, one, like I said, before you asked that question, I said 1A needs to be on your 10-point steps to reentry, get registered to vote. That's an extremely easy thing to do. So, I mean, our prison system, you know, we have a federal prison system, we have a state prison system. Heard you earlier talked about the governor. It's just as easy to say when a inmate is leaving prison, just like you give them car fare to get home, you give them a voter registration card. That's simple. Very, very simple. So I think one of the things we need to advocate in terms of state legislation is that there has to be a connection for a person to become a whole citizen, to participate in the process. I'll give you an example. Went to college, right? In order for a man to receive financial aid, he has to sign up for selective service.
Correct.
But he doesn't have to register to vote. You have to sign up to fight and kill someone, but they don't want you to sign up to determine whether or not you will go fight and kill someone. So a game is being played. The game is being played. When you look at the history of the Voting Rights Act, did you know that the 15th Amendment in 1869 gave black men the right to vote? Most folks would think, oh, 1865 we got the right to vote. No, this thing got kicked off in 1869. Black men had the right to vote. We had black senators, black congressmen, Barack Obama is, that's not, no, oh wow, black senator. No, 1869. So when you move from 1869 to 1896, that period of Reconstruction, black men were heavily involved in the process. And if you look year in and year out, every 25 years, the Voting Rights Act has to be re-signed. Why? Because if they make that a permanent human citizen right, the ability to control the black masses, in my opinion, begins to go out the window. That is your number one say. Politics, one of the common definitions of politics is the fight and allocation over scarce resources, right? If there's a group who doesn't even have a say in where the resources go, then I get to keep those resources. So coming back to your question on how does that connect to your program with reentry, the first step is getting people, men and women, who are coming out of prison, not just black men, not just black people, any returning citizens. They need to get connected. But before they get there, here's the state game. The state game is, you've heard of the pipeline of prison through public education, right? Well, in public education, across the board, especially in the city of Philadelphia, civics are not taught in school.
At all.
So if you don't teach civics in school and you don't understand real government, then there's a disconnect. As a matter of fact, in the hood, folks have this negative idea of government, and anything dealing with government, they don't want to touch it. I don't want to touch the census. I'm not registering to vote. I'm not going out to vote. Why? Because they're going to make me have to go down and do jury duty. You better go do jury duty because you just get locked up, right? So there's this connection. And so before we even were to go to prison, one of the preventive measures we could use for people in reentry, another recommendation, is to demand that public education teaches civics again in school. And guess what? Just like I talked about people coming home having to give voter registration cards, how about when you turn 18 in public school for your birthday, guess what you get? A voter registration card.
Yeah.
You fill that out. We need to make that part of the culture that is second nature, that we get registered to vote. Kids all over the world, all over the country rather, can't wait till they're 16 so they can get a driver's license.
Right.
Well, guess what else you get with that driver's license? You can, when you go to get your driver's license, you can get registered to vote at the DMV. Those two need to connect. We need legislation that says when you get a driver's license at 16, you can answer the question, do you want to be automatically registered to vote at age 18? Yes. What do you want to be registered as? Democrat. All that stuff sits there. Bam, as soon as you turn 18, got it.
It should come in the mail to you.
Right there.
Yeah, I agree.
So, I mean, these are just things we can do, to me, to make common sense, to make the process easier, to eliminate some of the barriers of why people don't get involved in the process. It's really simple things.
Well, let me ask you this. What is the hardest thing for you right now to get across to individuals in the community that's really, really important for our community? Like most candidates I speak with, and they have certain topics that they can't really, like Barack Obama when he got elected, President Barack Obama, when he was elected, and they asked him after his first 2 weeks in office, and they said, what is it about the office that you find that was like, wow, I didn't know that? And his thing was, how many people don't pay taxes?
Okay.
Right? So what are you finding? Like, are they serious? Like running. You done been running for a few times.
Right. I think the biggest thing is just our ignorance to how much power comes with registering to vote and actually voting. That's the biggest thing in my opinion. The reason I say that is because there's nothing you can do in this country that is not connected to government. Nothing. So when we begin to learn how selecting our legislative officials ties into every single thing we do, everything, then we'll begin to make the connect. And conversely, elected officials look at two things. Three if they have a heart. But most look at two things. Does this group have money that can influence what I stand for or against? Or do they have votes? If you don't represent a voter block, you don't count. Being registered to vote is one thing, but then connecting yourself to a block of people who have a common issues and agenda is another thing. An individual voter is one vote. Person who's an individual voter and I'm connected to reentry and you know what my issues are, then I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, you begin to dictate the conversation when it comes to legislation, period. And that's democracy. That's not improperly leveraging yourself. Elected officials are nothing more than the voice of the people. They're supposed to listen to what the electorate says and say, okay, the people said go left. I'm voting left. That's how it's supposed to work.
Exactly, you represent it.
We've got confused, and many elected officials have gotten confused and pompous and said, well, I think we should. No, because you didn't vote you in, we voted you in. We think you should. And too often we've given over our power to elected officials when, in fact, we're their boss, we're paid. We pay their salaries.
Now, what you just stated is absolutely 100%. What happens is, this is the however.
Okay.
They start out just like that, what you just said. Understanding you go into office because we the people put you in office. But then you get around your constituents. And now backdoor deals and discussions comes about. And it said, okay, well listen, don't fight us on this, and we'll hit you on that on the back end, whatever. And we sitting out front thinking you're the representatives of us. And we trying to figure out why we still not receiving just due. Because not all, but majority of the elected officials that do go into office get tainted. Because you can listen to their conversation. You from the hood. You know when you hearing BS, they get tainted.
And this is why I wanted to uniquely run for this office. Okay. And here's why. When we look at the voter turnout in this city, we're averaging less than 30%. Right? Do you remember seeing the lines when Barack Obama ran for office? Forever. Guess what we didn't get to? We didn't even get to 50% turnout. And those lines were around the corner. That wasn't 50%. This country has never seen 50% or more of people coming out to vote. And imagine how long those lines were. The reason I want to run for this office is to give power to people. Because when those elected officials know they only have to answer to that very small group of people to come out to vote, they're like, yeah, you can complain all day long if you like, but I know the majority of you, the overwhelming majority of you are not even voting. So complain all day long. But in this office, whose primary responsibility is to get voters to turn out and to get registered, all I'm doing is leveraging all elected officials to have to be accountable to the people. Because they can't, in the back of their mind, say, oh yeah, but the overall majority of people who are registered to vote don't vote. So 7 out of those 10 people just approach me with a problem. They're not going to vote anyway, so what? Game changes when you say, yeah, listen, I'm a registered voter and I'm with reentry. Oh, yeah, what's the issue? How can I help you?
Right, exactly, because you're in a position to vote them in and vote them out.
You know that Verizon commercial? Guy comes up, you know what I mean, and he got his network. That's what it becomes. When you go and say, I'm with reentry, I'm a registered voter with reentry, although you may be standing there by yourself, in the politician's mind, he sees the network.
Exactly.
So that's where we need to be with this.
Right, because the thing is, with the reentry piece, as you know, of course, with the data, it's over 300,000 ex-offenders in the city of Philadelphia. Also, with the feds, the county, and the state, 2,500 come home a month. So it's absolutely important and critical to have that voters block,
Right.
because it protects us now. It gives us the respect that we deserve, and that's one of the reasons why we're able to vote here in Pennsylvania. Because we were saying that if we come home as returning citizens, then we should be able to vote because you're making us pay taxes and so forth.
That's
so
we that was
deserve
how the country got founded.
Exactly.
Taxation without representation.
Exactly. And with that being said, I want you to tell my audience how to get in contact with you, how to reach you, and anything else you would like them to know.
Well, they can reach me through social media. My name is Will Mega, WILLMEGA, 2 words. I'm on all social media networks, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm Mr. Will Mega on Instagram. And I just want you to know, it's very important to register to vote. It's very important to go out to vote. Folks who say, I hear this one all the time. We should vote because people died for a right to vote. I'm telling you should vote because people are dying right now.
Well, you heard it. I'm Tracey L. Fisher, Community Talk with Mr. Will Mega. Thank you.
That's right.